Have you ever wondered how a country responds when its own infrastructure becomes a battlefield? Imagine the tense mornings, the distant hum of armored vehicles, the sharp scent of alertness in the air. That's exactly what Poland faces now. It all started when unpredictable drones silently crossed its borders, around 20 of them. Some were shot down immediately, yet the threat lingered, casting a shadow over the nation's security. Russia's hybrid warfare was taking on a new, sinister shape, stepping beyond mere aerial intrusions. But then, the seemingly endless game escalated. Just 2 months later, the stakes rose even higher. An act of sabotage shattered Poland's delicate peace, an explosion targeting a train, chaos erupting on the tracks. Russia was the prime suspect, fueling fears that the shadow war was no longer just a game of drones. Furious and alarmed, Poland decided enough was enough. The government announced a bold move, deploying 10,000 troops to defend vital infrastructure. The air thickened with anticipation, soldiers standing guard, eyes scanning every shadow for signs of trouble. Why such a drastic step? Rumors swirling, whispers of a targeted attack designed to destabilize the country. The explosion was more than just an accident, it was a deliberate strike. The Polish defense minister, Władysław Kozyniak-Kamysz, confirmed, this was an act of sabotage orchestrated by Russian intelligence. Poland was now on high alert, prepared to counter these silent threats with unwavering resolve. They were not just defending infrastructure, they were defending sovereignty. In a historic move, Poland launched Operation Horizon, mobilizing 10,000 soldiers for an all-out vigilance campaign. The soldiers would guard key sites, stopping potential saboteurs before they could strike. But the efforts didn't end there. Citizens would play a pivotal role. An innovative app was being developed to report suspicious activities, turning everyday people into guardians of national security. This app, still in development, promised to be a game-changer, perhaps allowing photos, videos, and messages to be sent directly to security forces. Yet, behind the scenes, a critical question loomed: will this plan receive the presidential approval needed to unleash its full power? The defense minister had already set a tentative start date, November 21st. By then, Operation Horizon could be in motion, marking a fierce stand against Russia's shadow tactics. Vladimir Putin had just been put on notice. Poland's resilience now stood strong, backed by 10,000 fighters and an awakened populace, ready to counter any covert assault. But the story darkened further. In retaliation, Poland took another bold step, closing the last remaining Russian consulate. No longer will Russian officials have a base to operate within Polish borders. This symbolic gesture sends a clear message: Poland refuses to be undermined or manipulated. It's a bold declaration, turning away from diplomacy towards resolute defense. Russia's flagship voice condemns the move, claiming it's a sign of deteriorating relations, but can anyone blame Poland? Their homeland is under attack. Just days ago, Poland faced a shocking act of sabotage, a carefully planned assault on a train. The sound of the explosion echoed through the country, sudden, deafening, causing chaos. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk called it unprecedented, an attack designed precisely to shake society, to instill fear. Initial investigations pointed fingers directly at Russian special services. The government believed that the sabotage wasn't random, it was strategic, aimed at destabilizing Poland's aid routes to Ukraine and creating chaos on its railways. The details were startling: explosives triggered by cell phones, crossing points in Belarus used as escape routes, evidence of premeditation. 2 Ukrainian suspects, reportedly working for Russian intelligence, had crossed into Poland weeks before the attack, planning this sabotage as part of a larger covert operation. They fled back through Belarus after the explosion, leaving behind a trail of suspicion. Intelligence hints that they might not have acted alone. Possibly 4 accomplices, Ukrainian nationals under Russian orders, stayed behind, ready to strike again. The question remains: how long can Poland withstand this silent war? With a soundscape filled with the hum of military engines, the tense whispers of intelligence, and the distant clatter of security measures, every sound tells a story of resilience. As the shadows of conflict deepen, one thing is clear: Poland is no longer just reacting, it's preparing to fight back fiercely. Every move is calculated, every threat met with resolve. The question now isn't whether Poland will succeed, it's whether Russia can continue its shadow war against a nation willing to stand firm, no matter the cost. The Polish military is taking unprecedented steps to counter a looming threat. Recent sabotage acts have left the nation shaking with fear. Explosives planted on vital infrastructure and targeted attacks echo like distant thunder. Responding swiftly, the government is mobilizing 10,000 soldiers ready to defend everything they hold dear. But will this be enough to stop the invisible enemies lurking in the shadows? In a tense press conference, Poland's defense chief announced Operation Horizon, an ambitious plan to thwart covert Russian sabotage. Soldiers will guard critical infrastructure, their eyes sharp for any suspicious activity. The scent of fear lingers in the air, mixed with resolve. Citizens will be encouraged to report strange sights, sounds, even sensations, anything that seems out of place. Can a nation doing so much to protect itself truly stay one step ahead of cunning enemies who operate in silence? The attack on a Polish train changed everything. An explosion, mysterious and powerful, targeted a route vital for aid deliveries to Ukraine. The blast was no accident. Evidence points directly to Russian special services. The national alert spiraled higher, suspicion mounting. Intelligence suggests the sabotage was meant to shake societal confidence, to instill fear deep in the psyche. How could they strike so close, so calculated, risking everything? The discovery of seizing SIM cards hints at a new level of danger where cell phones become deadly tools in a game of war in the shadows. Yet, Poland isn't just reacting, it's evolving. The government plans to launch an app that empowers ordinary citizens. Soon, anyone can report emerging threats, a photo, a video, a whisper caught in the wind. Is this enough to outsmart invisible enemies who already lurk among them? Authorities will need approval from the top, but signs point to rapid action. The date is set early December to deploy this digital line of defense. How many lives will it save? Will ordinary people become the key to thwarting the unseen? Behind the scenes, deeper secrets unfold. Authorities believe 2 Ukrainians, possibly working for Russian intelligence, crossed into Poland weeks ago. They moved through Belarus, planning their strike in silence, then vanished after the act. Their accomplices, perhaps 4 more, remained behind, orchestrating the chaos from afar. How close did they come to their goal? The air thickened with tension. Every sound, every shadow could hold another threat. The question remains, how will Poland's new defenses hold against this relentless, invisible war? The Polish military leadership is preparing to escalate its defenses against Russian aggression, but they face a critical hurdle. The commander-in-chief, Kaziniak Kamysz, must submit a formal request to the nation's president before deploying 10,000 troops. With a tentative start date set for November 21, the operation may already be in motion as you watch. Imagine the tension building. Would the approval process delay their plans? Or would it unleash a new wave of resilience? The stakes are sky high. If all goes according to plan, Vladimir Putin must now realize that Poland is no longer willing to stand by silently. Poland is taking bold steps to cut the roots of Russian influence entirely. Just days earlier, their foreign minister, Radoslaw Sikorski, announced the closure of the last remaining Russian diplomatic outpost in Gdansk. This is not just a symbolic gesture, it's a calculated move to stop Russian agents and immigrants from exerting control within Poland's borders. With the consulate shutting down, an entire network that once issued passports and provided administrative support for Russian citizens in Poland will vanish. The message is clear: Poland wants to sever all ties, curb espionage, and push back against any lingering Russian power. This move signals an even firmer stance than ever before. But this isn't the full story. Behind this decisive action lies an ominous question: what are they hiding, or prepared for, that prompted such a radical break from diplomatic tradition? As the final supports for Russian influence crumble, the true battlefield emerges. Could Poland's next move indeed tip the balance of power? Or has Putin already begun to retaliate in ways we can't yet see? The tension in Poland has reached a boiling point, fueled by relentless Russian provocations. Just days ago, a devastating attack targeted a Polish train, causing chaos on the rails and raising fears of a wider conflict. The Polish government swiftly identified Russian special operations behind the sabotage, accusing Moscow of trying to destabilize the country. Imagine the deafening roar of explosives, the sharp smell of burnt metal, and the shuddering tremor as tracks are shattered. It was no coincidence. This attack was designed to cripple Poland's vital transportation infrastructure, a clear message from Moscow: we can strike anywhere, anytime. But Poland refuses to back down. They are prepared to fight back with unprecedented force. As the world watches nervously, Poland announced the launch of a fierce new military operation, Operation Horizon. Picture 10,000 soldiers pouring into strategic locations across the country. Their mission? To defend against future sabotage, to catch saboteurs before they strike again, and to send a powerful message to Moscow: enough is enough. This is no longer about diplomacy, it's about standing strong against hybrid warfare tactics. Yet this military buildup is just the beginning. Poland's leadership is moving to eliminate Russian influence entirely. They've shut down the last remaining Russian consulate in Gdansk, a symbolic blow to Moscow's presence inside Poland. The air thickens with tension, as if every move is a chess piece in a deadly game. With the consulate gone, Russian diplomats and agents will find it increasingly difficult to operate in Poland. The message is clear: we won't tolerate interference anymore. But why all this escalation? Why is Poland risking open conflict over covert attacks? The answer lies in the unrelenting aggression from Moscow. Russian officials, led by spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, have accused Poland of trying to sever all diplomatic ties. Yet behind the scenes, Moscow's actions speak volumes: relentless cyber attacks, alleged sabotage missions, and now, an outright show of military strength. And what about the sabotage itself? The attack on the train was meticulously planned, with explosives aimed at derailment, but luck was not on the saboteurs' side. The bombs failed to hit their intended target directly, causing only partial damage to tracks. Still, the disruption was profound. Delays rippled through the rail network, and supplies destined for Ukraine were delayed, all part of Russia's long-term plan to destabilize the region. Polish authorities pieced together valuable intelligence from seized cell phones, evidence pointing directly to Ukrainian citizens working under Russian orders. These operatives crossed into Poland through Belarusian territory, planning their strike weeks or even months in advance. Yet the plot thickened when new reports suggested Russian agents might have had accomplices still hiding inside Poland, orchestrating future attacks. The question remains: how much longer can Poland hold out against Moscow's ongoing hybrid warfare? Their response is both strategic and resolute, deploying troops and turning their citizens into vigilant eyes on the ground. Right now, Poland isn't just defending itself, it's warning Russia that the days of covert sabotage are over. The nation is ready to fight back with total force if needed. And as the world holds its breath, one thing is certain: the stakes have never been higher. This confrontation might reshape the balance of power in Europe forever. The question is, how far will Russia go, and will Poland stand firm? The coming days will reveal whether these military measures will quell the threat or escalate tensions into open conflict. It appears that Polish authorities have a clear picture of who was behind the recent sabotage. Evidence points strongly towards Russian special services, according to official sources. The question remains: what's Russia really trying to accomplish? Is it just fear, or something more sinister? The details of the attack reveal a carefully planned operation, designed to shake Poland to its core. On November 20th, a detailed report confirmed that the explosion aimed at trains failed to cause a derailment, at least, for now. Reports suggest the sabotage was subtly timed, intended to damage rail tracks critical for aid deliveries into Ukraine. Imagine the faint smell of burning metal, the echo of distant footsteps, as these underground actors advanced their plan. Their method? Explosive devices triggered by cell phones, a terrifying thought, as phones are everywhere, silent witnesses in this shadow game. Law enforcement had seized SIM cards in the aftermath, tightening the noose around the suspects. But the plot thickened swiftly. Polish authorities didn't take long to trace the trail. On November 18, sources indicated that the saboteurs were likely two Ukrainian citizens linked to Russian intelligence. They had slipped into Poland through Belarus during the fall, crossing at Tiraspol, a border town shrouded in damp fog. Their movements? Carefully documented, the crossing, then back again, all planned weeks, maybe months in advance. Did they feel the cold night air and hear the distant rumble of trains as they made their escape? Yet, the story didn't end there. Reports suggest these two weren't acting alone. For possible accomplices, also Ukrainians, remained in Poland. Acting on orders from Russia, perhaps they set up hideouts or provided logistical support. What secret faces hid behind their hurried disguises? Could they have been orchestrating more chaos from within Polish borders? Amidst this chaos, Russia's response was predictable: denial tinged with mockery. Official spokespersons claimed no involvement, dismissing accusations as unfounded. But can we truly believe them? Behind closed doors, are there whispers of the real game of covert operations, of influence and power struggles? The smoke from the explosion hadn't yet settled before accusations flew, and the question lingers, how deep does this web of espionage go? It all began with an unprecedented surge of danger, Russia's covert operation invading Poland's security. Imagine the tense atmosphere, machines humming, the smell of burning metal lingering in the air, while silent drones hover overhead, their cameras piercing the darkness. Suddenly, explosions rip through a Polish train line, an attack so bold, it shakes the foundation of national safety. Could this be just the beginning? This assault was no ordinary act. Experts quickly pointed fingers at Russia's shadowy intelligence agencies. Cybernetic whispers, explosive charges triggered by cell phones, and carefully orchestrated crossings from Belarus, these clues hint at a meticulously planned sabotage. The attack didn't just cause chaos, it threatened to destabilize an entire nation. How deep does this conspiracy run? Do these acts of aggression signal a new era of open conflict? In response, Poland's leadership escalated their stance, showing resilience in the face of foreign interference. At a high-stakes press conference, the defense minister announced Operation Horizon, a massive deployment of 10,000 soldiers guarding vital infrastructure. If the attacks were a wake-up call, this is Poland's thunderous reply. Soldiers prepared to stand guard at strategic points, ready for anything. Citizens were urged to report suspicious activity, weapons of a different kind. Could a civilian alert app turn ordinary people into frontline defenders? The stakes are rising. But will this military push be enough to stop Russia's relentless efforts? Or is Poland betting everything on a fragile security shield? As tension reaches boiling point, Poland takes a daring step, shutting down Russia's last diplomatic foothold within its borders. The removal of the Russian consulate in Gdansk sends a chilling message: no room for diplomacy when confrontation is imminent. What message does this send to Putin's regime? Is this a sign that Poland intends to isolate Russia completely? Or might it fuel even more hostility? The atmosphere thickens with suspicion, every move is scrutinized. Behind closed doors, questions swirl: can diplomacy survive these acts of war? Meanwhile, the air thickens with accusations and counter-accusations. Russia's representatives dismiss the attacks, cloaking their denial in mockery. Their claims that Moscow has no involvement only deepen suspicions. But inside Poland, the public feels a different reality, a relentless invasion of their borderlands. The recent sabotage of a Polish train, believed to be orchestrated by Russian agents, leaves a bitter taste. Witnesses describe the explosion as muffled, like a distant thunder startling the quiet night, yet the damage echoes loudly across the railway lines. Evidence points to Ukrainian nationals acting on Russia's orders, crossing through Belarus, planning for weeks. The question remains, are these lone operators, or part of a bigger web of covert operations? What will happen next? As Poland clamps down with Operation Horizon, preparing for further attacks, the world watches nervously. Could this be the spark igniting a larger conflict? How much longer can the fragile line of peace hold? Every detail, every secret uncovered, raises the stakes, fueling fears of a new Cold War ignited by unseen enemies. One thing is certain, Poland refuses to stand down. Its soldiers are ready, its citizens vigilant, and the shadow of war looms larger than ever. But will these defenses be enough? Or will deeper, darker forces push the world into chaos? The answers lie hidden beneath the ever-present threat of the unseen war that's now shrouding Europe. It all begins with a shocking escalation. Rumors swirl of Russia sending around 20 drones into Polish airspace. Some are shot down on sight, others slip through, igniting fears across borders. Poland braces itself as the skies become battlegrounds, and the tension intensifies. Is this just the start of a new hybrid assault, or is a larger storm brewing? Now, the shadow of danger deepens. Reports reveal Russia's relentless pursuit of destabilizing Poland, an act of sabotage that pushes the country to its limit. A devastating explosion targets a Polish train, deliberate, calculated, and chilling. The country screams for justice, trembling under the weight of Russian aggression. Will retaliation be enough to stop the creeping threat? Or is this just a warning shot? Poland responds with a thunderous declaration, Operation Horizon. A massive military mobilization of 10,000 soldiers. guarding vital infrastructure against unseen enemies lurking in the shadows. The defense minister presses forward, linking the operation directly to countering sabotage from Russian agents. Citizens are urged to report anything suspicious, every whisper, every flicker of movement. The nation's nerves are stretched thin. Could this be the first step toward full-scale confrontation, or will it reveal even darker secrets hidden behind the curtain of war? And just as Poland prepares for battle, the stakes skyrocket. The attack on the train was no accident. Authorities identify the culprits, Ukrainian nationals allegedly working for Russian intelligence. The suspects crossed into Poland through Belarus, planning their assault for weeks. Explosives triggered via cell phones, tracks damaged on key aid routes into Ukraine. The air thick with paranoia. Who else might be involved? What if the attack was only a message, one meant to shake the very foundations of Polish society? The plot thickens. Could there be more hidden behind these explosions? Meanwhile, Poland takes decisive action. Not just with military might but also diplomatically. The country orders the closure of the last Russian consulate, symbolic, yet powerful. A message to Moscow clears the way for more aggressive policies. With relations at an all-time low, diplomatic ties are severed, sending a clear warning. Yet, critics wonder, has Poland gone too far? Or is this desperately needed to protect national sovereignty? Russians cry foul, claiming the move reveals Poland's intent to isolate itself completely. But who's really the aggressor in this game of shadows and secrets? Tensions boil over as the government alleges Russia's hand in orchestrating the chaos. The prime suspect? Russia's special services. Their fingerprints are unmistakable inside and outside of Poland's borders. The news intensifies with claims of Ukrainians acting as pawns, crossing borders at Belarus, carrying out orders. The clock ticks as Polish authorities race against time, hunting these saboteurs. Yet, behind this hunt lies a startling twist. What if some of these suspects are mere scapegoats, caught in an even larger covert war? Will Poland's hunt uncover the truth or entangle it further in a web of lies? As the dust settles on the recent chaos, an even more shocking revelation emerges. The attack on the Polish train was not just about destruction, it was a warning. Evidence suggests it was timed to cause maximum disruption, possibly linked to an effort to sabotage aid routes into Ukraine. The suspect's escape route leads straight back into Belarus, hinting at deeper ties. Is this a prelude to even more dangerous plans? And what's really behind Russia's relentless push to destabilize Poland? A secret war is unfolding, more complex than anyone dared to imagine. Could this be the moment when everything changes forever? The adventure unfolds when Poland faces a relentless shadow from its eastern neighbor. Imagine the tension in the air, thick with the scent of impending conflict, as the country prepares to defend itself in a way no one expected. Following recent sabotage attempts, Poland is about to take decisive action, mobilizing thousands of troops, tightening security, and sending a clear message: enough is enough. Initially, all eyes were on Operation Horizon. The plan? Deploy 10,000 soldiers to safeguard vital infrastructure. But here's the twist: whether these forces will actually be sent remains uncertain. The recorded date for approval is set for November 21st, and the clock is ticking. Does this mean Poland is truly ready for an all-out stand? Or are there deeper secrets behind the scenes? The silence before the storm is deafening. Meanwhile, shadows from the past creep closer. Poland's recent buildup of 40,000 soldiers at its borders with Belarus and the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad shows Moscow's fears. Yet, Putin's real concern might lie elsewhere. His hybrid attacks, sabotage, digital disruptions, covert operations are meant to ignite chaos and division. But instead, they're fueling unity. The recent railway sabotage, aimed at tearing Poland apart, seems to have backfired spectacularly. Imagine the scene: a damaged rail line glows in the dawnlight, smoldering in the aftermath of a covert explosion. The smell of burnt metal hangs in the air. Yet, instead of fracturing, Poland's resolve strengthens. The country's leaders, despite political differences, stand shoulder to shoulder. They realize that unity is their ultimate weapon. The sabotage attempt has poured gasoline on their collective fire, more determined, more vigilant than ever. In a surprising turn, Polish officials have announced the closure of the last Russian diplomatic mission. The silence of the empty consulate in Gdansk echoes the message loud and clear: Russia's influence wanes. Yet, the Kremlin's response is swift charges of diplomatic hostility. Can Moscow afford to lose its foothold? They are desperate to maintain their grip, but Poland's refusal to back down signals a new era, one of resilience, resistance, and readiness to face the unknown. Tensions culminate when Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk reveals evidence pointing towards Ukrainian citizens working for Russian intelligence. The shocking discovery? The suspects crossed into Poland via Belarus, planned their attack for weeks, then vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of questions and fear. Could this be the start of a deeper conspiracy? What's truly at stake? The darkness conceals secrets, but the truth might be closer than anyone dares to think. As the story deepens, the air thickens with anticipation. The question remains, will Poland's bold moves deter future sabotage? Or has Putin's game just begun? The battlefield is shifting, the stakes are higher, and the world watches with bated breath. What comes next is uncertain, but one thing is clear, Poland refuses to be a pawn. Its future hangs in the balance, teetering on the edge of conflict, ready to defy all odds. It all began when Russia sent a swarm of nearly 20 drones into Polish airspace. Many were destroyed on sight, igniting immediate alarm among citizens and officials alike. The sound of incoming drones, like metallic whispers slicing through the air, sent shivers down everyone's spines. Poland's defenses flared. Can they stop this relentless hybrid assault? Could this be the beginning of a new, unstoppable wave of aggression? Just 2 months later, Russia's tactics grew even more aggressive, crossing a horrifying line. An act of sabotage shattered Polish infrastructure, sparking outrage and fear across the nation. Explosions echoed like distant thunder, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The nation was furious. Poland declared, "Enough is enough." They were ready to strike back. How could Russia escalate so far? What lurks behind this brutal escalation? In a bold move, Poland announced the deployment of 10,000 troops to protect critical infrastructure. Cameras captured tense moments as soldiers assembled, helmets glinting in the cold autumn sun. Under the shadow of a recent train explosion, strongly suspected to be Russia's work, Poland took a stand. What secret plans are hidden behind Operation Horizon? And how much further will they go to defend their homeland? Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kozyniak-Kamysz held a fiery press conference, promising a crackdown on sabotage. His voice rang out, firm and determined, emphasizing the fight against Russian agents intent on destabilizing Poland. The operation aims to tackle threats directly linked to whispered operations of Russian intelligence. But this is just the first step. Could more drastic measures, expelling diplomats, increasing cybersecurity, be next? As citizens are urged to stay vigilant, a new app is being developed. Can an ordinary person spot the enemy lurking in their neighborhood? Will this brave tool catch saboteurs before catastrophe strikes again? The clock is ticking. The Polish authorities need approval from the country's leader to launch their military offensive. Yet, defense insiders are confident. The tentative start date is set for November 21st. Will the fleet of soldiers be enough to turn the tide? Russia's shadowy efforts continue, but now, Poland stands ready with 10,000 soldiers and a war-ready populace. Putin's influence wanes as they prepare to defend their sovereignty. Meanwhile, Poland is distancing itself from Russia even further, closing the last Russian consulate in Gdansk. The message is clear: no more diplomatic ties, no more influence. The air smells of burned diplomacy and rising tensions. Russia's official, Dmitry Peskov, dismisses this as attempts to shut down relations, but can anyone believe it? Is this the end of all dialogue? Or merely a tactic to deepen hostility? In the background, alarm bells ring louder. Russia's acts of sabotage include a daring attack on a Polish train, a strike that could have been disastrous. The Prime Minister called it an unprecedented act of sabotage, and intelligence quickly pointed to Russian special services. The attack, carried out with cell phone-triggered explosives, aimed to derail aid supplies heading into Ukraine. Was this a warning? Or a calculated message to Poland and NATO? Investigations reveal that the saboteurs crossed into Poland via Belarus, planning their moves for weeks. 2 Ukrainians, allegedly working for Russia, might have orchestrated the chaos. But they weren't alone. Whispers speak of 4 accomplices in Poland aiding their escape. What was the full scope of this operation? Will more operatives be uncovered? Could this be the tip of the iceberg in a larger web of covert warfare?
As the story unfolds, it becomes clear, Russia does not care about Ukraine or Poland.
Its relentless drone assaults, sabotage attempts, and diplomatic sabotage reveal a clear strategy: destabilize, intimidate, destabilize.
Will Poland's bold stand mark a turning point in this hidden war? Or will Russia's shadowy tactics drown Europe in chaos?
The stakes are high, and the world waits, holding its breath.
Will the brave steps of Poland succeed? Or is this just the beginning of even darker days ahead?
In recent days, the shadows of conflict have stretched far beyond Ukraine.
Russia's relentless hybrid tactics are forcing Poland and the UK into urgent action.
Drone attacks, sabotage, and spy ships, these are no longer isolated incidents but parts of a broader, aggressive strategy aimed at destabilizing Europe.
What lies ahead when nations arm themselves against unseen enemies lurking in the shadows?
Prepare for a shocking revelation that could change everything you thought you knew about global power struggles. It all began when Russia launched a dangerous wave of around 20 drones into Poland.
Some were immediately destroyed, and tensions skyrocketed. Poland's alertness turned into urgent preparation. Evidence suggests Russia's hybrid war is escalating beyond border skirmishes, veering into sabotage aimed at crippling vital infrastructure.
Just 2 months later, a bold act of sabotage struck Poland again, targeting a train with devastating intent. The country fumes with anger, ready to retaliate. Amid this chaos, Poland's military leadership announced a groundbreaking plan: Operation Horizon. A force of 10,000 soldiers would now be stationed at critical locations across the nation.
Their mission?
To safeguard infrastructure and root out saboteurs before catastrophe strikes again. High-ranking officials spoke about a direct response to Russian intelligence agents' dangerous acts of sabotage. This isn't just about deploying troops, it's about sending a fierce message: Poland refuses to be a sitting target.
But the threat isn't solely military. The Polish defense minister, Władysław Kozyniak-Kamysz,
revealed a new strategy: mobilize citizens to act as vigilant defenders. An innovative app is in development, enabling civilians to report suspicious activities swiftly. Images, videos, whispers, every detail counts.
As this new era of grassroots intelligence begins, the question looms: are ordinary citizens the new frontline in the fight against Russian covert warfare? And will this effort be enough to prevent another disaster?
Yet, every bold move faces the ultimate hurdle: the approval from the country's president. The green light, expected by November 21st, could make Operation Horizon active before this video concludes. Once activated, 10,000 soldiers stand ready, prepared to face any future sabotage attempts.
Russia's ambitions to destabilize Poland are met with fierce resolve. This is a clear warning: Ukraine isn't the only country girding for war.
Poland's act of defiance signals a new line drawn in the sand. Meanwhile, Poland has struck a symbolic blow against Russia's influence: the closure of its last Russian consulate. The diplomatic mission in Gdansk will shut down, cutting off administrative links that once served Russian citizens and potential espionage activities. This move sends a powerful message: Poland refuses to allow Russian influence to nest inside its borders. Russian officials, led by Dmitry Peskov, denounced it as an escalation. But how much can diplomacy stand when faced with relentless hybrid aggression? Is this the beginning of a complete severance, a final act of defiance? The recent sabotage of Polish railways adds horrifying clarity to the crisis.
An explosion,
believed to be orchestrated by Russian special services, aimed to derail trains carrying aid into Ukraine. Fortunately, no trains were hit directly, but the damage to tracks disrupted vital supplies.
Experts suggest the explosives were triggered remotely via cell phones, an insidious tactic aimed at sowing chaos and fear.
Polish authorities quickly identified 2 Ukrainian suspects crossing from Belarus, believed to be working for Russian intelligence.
As they fled back across the border, questions remain: how deep does the conspiracy run? Who else is involved in this web of deception?
But the plot thickens.
Evidence indicates that these saboteurs might not have acted alone.
Up to 4 accomplices, also Ukrainian, are believed to have been involved, operating under Russian orders.
The operation's timing, weeks or months in planning, betrays a frightening level of coordination.
As the investigation unfolds, the world watches in shock. Who truly pulls the strings behind these deadly acts?
And more alarmingly, what's next? Could a new wave of attacks be lurking unseen, ready to strike? Meanwhile, across borders, alliances are forging even stronger ties. Polish and Ukrainian intelligence agencies are deepening cooperation. President Tusk met with Ukrainian leader Zelensky to develop joint strategies. No finger-pointing, no blame-shifting, only a shared resolve. They plan to establish a new joint task force, pooling intelligence and intercepting threats before they strike. Citizens of both nations will be asked to report suspicious activities. Is this alliance enough to withstand Russia's relentless strategies? Or is it a fragile shield against an unpredictable adversary? The European Union is also sounding the alarm. Increased sabotage underscores the vulnerability of critical infrastructure. EU officials warn of unprecedented risks to transport and logistics networks. We must act swiftly, they say. A coordinated response, possibly on a continent-wide scale, is being considered. Could this be the dawn of a new shield, united in purpose? Or is Russia's shadow war too insidious to contain? While Europe braces, Russia's military continues striking at Ukraine. On November 20th, they unleashed another deadly barrage of drones and missiles attacking the city of Ternopil. The assault killed at least 26 civilians, including 15 children, with many more injured. The city's proximity to Poland added urgency, prompting NATO to scramble fighter jets to defend their airspace. But even as Ukraine fights back, Russia's campaigns threaten Poland itself. The consequences are felt in every corner, each attack echoing louder, each strike more deliberate. Poland, alarmed and determined, now mobilizes. The deployment of 10,000 troops at vital sites signals a decisive stance, resolute in defending sovereignty. Yet, the threat isn't solely military. An ominous presence looms. A Russian spy ship has been lurking near British waters, deploying persistent surveillance and targeting the UK's defences in ways never seen before. The world is balancing on a knife's edge. Who is truly pulling the strings behind these covert operations? What game are they playing behind the shadows? And just when you thought it couldn't get more intense, here comes the twist. A Russian attack near Britain's coast has more implications than anyone predicted. Could this be the start of a larger, global conflict? As secret ships spy and covert operations escalate, the line between overt war and silent sabotage blurs, leaving everyone asking, how much longer can the world sit on this powder keg? Who holds the true power in this unseen war? The answer might lie in the dark corners of global politics, where silent agents shift the balance of power. What's clear is that no nation is truly safe. The attacks, the espionage, the strategic strikes, they are all part of a new era of warfare. An era where the battlefield is invisible, yet deadly. And the stakes have never been higher. Prepare yourself, because the next chapter is about to unfold. And it might change everything you thought you knew about global power.